Welcome, friends. I'm Yvonne Davis, author, astrologer, and life transformation coach. And today I have a video for you called Trump's Enemies. So today is the 7th, and in recent videos I had predicted something challenging coming up for Trump because of the alignments right now. So I'm going to show you that, but first I need to make a quick announcement. So I want to show you something. I'm going to offer a special to all of my current patrons. So if you are a current patron, you will be receiving notice of this, that you will get a free ebook. And you can choose my ebook, The Power of Manifestation, or In the Magic Flow. Okay, so that's a gift for all of my current patrons at any financial level. If you are not a patron, but you would like to become one, if you sign up at the $10 level, then you will also receive a free book. So that's a gift for patrons. And also wanted to mention my special on financial freedom workshop. I got several emails asking for more information, so I created a page that talks about the structure and content of the workshop. So I'll put that link below. So if you're interested in becoming a patron and getting a free book, click on the link below. And if you're interested in the financial freedom workshop, click on the link below. And by the way, this financial freedom workshop I'm offering it at a discount, and it includes a 1-hour astrology reading. So you'll get both at a discount. Okay, so that's how I pay my bills. All right, so let's get on to the charts. All right, so I got to pull up the chart right now, and we will see what is happening with Donald Trump. Okay, so today is February 7th, and as I had mentioned in previous videos, I felt that this was an important date. One, it brought closure to the trial, the impeachment trial, which virtually everyone knew he was going to get off. And here is the sun activating his trine between Uranus and Jupiter, which is his lucky charm. And but yeah, I still think there's something really important here. Even if we don't see it publicly, it's still activating, and I'll explain why. So let me just point that out again. So Saturn this is currently when I'm making this video. Saturn at 25 degrees of 48 minutes has actually already opposed his Venus. Okay, Saturn is structure and authority and the rules and the laws and hard-cold reality. And it's opposing his Venus in his 12th house of secrets and things hidden. Venus rules finances and relationships. So particularly women, it will often manifest as women. It's also the things that we are passionate about, the things that we value. So that's not considered a pleasant opposition when Saturn opposes your natal Venus. But the fact that it's in the House of Secrets tells me it could have something to do with his dirty financial dealings being revealed, or other relationship issues, particularly with women, being revealed. And then with the moon here, the moon is full now. It will be exact in a day, but it's already considered full. And with a full moon in the 12th house of secrets, it illuminates things. We've still got the North Node here, very karmic, over Mercury, which is about information and facts, squaring Neptune. So, and the vertex is there as well. So this is extremely, extremely karmic. He thinks he's gotten away with something. The Republicans think they've gotten away with something. They have not gotten away with anything. No, certainly not at the karmic level. And it will come back to bite them, because this is an election year. And there were a lot of people, over 70% of Americans polled, wanted to see Donald Trump impeached and removed from office. And there are going to be a lot of people who resent what the Republicans did with the impeachment trial. They didn't even try to have a fair trial. They didn't allow witnesses, they didn't allow evidence, and there are going to be a lot of people who are angry about that. And it will come back to haunt them. So the other thing I want to show you, so again, this has already happened. It's in the process. If we don't see it manifest in the public view, I want to explain something really quick about this, how this works. Because back in July, I looked at the eclipses and the way they landed on Donald Trump's chart, and I predicted that he would be impeached. And then as the Mueller report came out and Mueller spoke in public, and then he testified to Congress, and the whole thing fell flat like a deflated balloon. And all this time we were waiting for something to happen, waiting for Donald Trump to get impeached, and nothing happened. It just completely deflated. And I started to doubt myself. And yet, sure enough, the karma finally kicked in, and he did end up being impeached. But what was so interesting about that was that the call to the Iranian president was actually occurred in July, at the time of the eclipses in July. So I was right, even though we didn't find out until September when the whistleblower's complaint came out, and that led to Trump's impeachment. So do trust in divine karmic justice, because whether or not we see this, something show up, it is in the works. I can promise you, it is in the works. So we may not see it today, but it is in the works, and it will come to light. So let me take you to the next chart that I think is important here. Now, speaking in terms of Trump's enemies, you know, I had talked to you about the new moon square to Uranus, and that we were going to see a male figure, or more than one male figure, shocking Trump by opposing him. And so what happened was that first we saw Lev Parnas and his shocking revelations, and then we saw Bolton, and we haven't seen the last of Bolton, believe me. And then we saw Mitt Romney, and I think that he was like the cherry on top of the sundae, for us Democrats anyway, not for Trump. All right, so this is a chart I want to show you. Okay, so a week from now on February 13th, and again, because it's close to midnight, we could see something revealed, this karma getting activated on the 13th or the 14th. So that's Thursday and Friday next week. So this is what's happening. Pluto is now opposing his Saturn. And we saw what happened when Saturn opposed Saturn. That was the day that the trial started. Now, a week from today, we're going to see Pluto opposing Saturn. Exactly. Okay? Right over his vertex, which is karma. So I want to show you something real quick. Okay, I got to pause this and then I'll bring it up. Okay, so this has to do with some of the key phrases and interpretations of Pluto opposite Saturn. So I thought this would be helpful, you know, rather than just talking about it, but really to get the message across. I wanted to show you the key phrases and interpretations of Pluto opposite Saturn. So it says, persisting in adverse direction, you likely encounter strong opposition to your efforts. Your options typically are restricted now. Because of the reductive nature, this period can imply losses. Often this process requires a major restructuring in certain areas, and it can indicate a time of fewer resources at your disposal. Assets may need to be consolidated, and you should avoid undue risks in order to conserve what you have. Sometimes you may attempt to exert unbending control over situations or people in order to support or to fortify what has already been instituted. While you can make things happen through sheer determination, typically there are unwanted consequences when you force an issue. Battles with those in authority, as well as a crisis with your own leadership, can occur. Oh, that's worth repeating. This will be an extremely stressful time for you and demands an enormous expenditure of energy. The areas of life that are affected by this cycle are places where you already feel a sense of challenge. You may experience the threat of loss in a situation that you're desperately holding on to or depending on for a sense of security. Oftentimes, what you're holding on to is your resistance to change, yet the situation requires change. You may lose a big client that you depended on for your income or experience a loss of property. Very interesting. Overwhelming pressures may force you out of your job or demand that you relocate away from your support system. In some situations, it may be appropriate to fight the pressures you feel, but it's often best to let go rather than fight, especially if these obstacles are essentially out of your control. Pluto opposition to Saturn is a very unpleasant transit. As disorienting and confusing as this process may be, your attitudes and choices at this time will affect you for the rest of your life. So here are some of the challenges. Calls for sacrifice on your part. Indicates that objectives are to be gained through sacrifice and toils. Changes. Deep sorrow that changes your life may indicate a need to let go of material possessions, friendships, and relationships. And we're going to talk more about that with the charts. I'll show you. And work. This is the kicker. Unrewarded for hard work and sacrifice. Loss of authority or trying to use your authority backfires and does not further you. Past abuses of power are exposed or come back to haunt you. That is it right there. Past abuses of power come back to haunt you. And caution. Pressure from others to engage in activities that are undesirable and blackmail. Those are all the typical standard interpretations of Pluto opposite Saturn. So it does not look like a pretty picture. So now I call this, I'm calling this Trump's enemies. I want to show you something else real quick that jumped up on my Yahoo page. This article, religious leaders condemn Trump's speech. And down here it says, Jesus taught us to avoid lying. Yeah, right. That's true. It's not good to lie. And people who actually value their religious beliefs, they know that. That's what was so impressive about Mitt Romney, standing true to what he actually values. How amazing. So, all right. So he is going to have more losses coming. So I want to take you back to the charts. Okay, so now you know the interpretation of Pluto opposite Saturn. Okay, so this is not good for Donald Trump. And, the North Node is still activating that point. Even though it's not exact on Mercury right now, it's still activating that point and making a square to Neptune. And that square to Neptune is going to get tighter and tighter and tighter, like tightening a noose. It's his karmic noose. And we also see the finger of God. Very karmic. It's all about you reap what you sow. And it's not going to be good for Donald Trump. So there's one more chart that I want to show you. And You know, the whole theme of this video is Trump's enemies, because it's also about the support that is crumbling. And you know, they're putting on this big show about how successful they were. Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Now he thinks he can get away with anything. That's what he has learned. So, but you got to understand there are things going on the karmic level, and you can't escape it. So let's talk about what we see happening in this chart. This is when Saturn enters Aquarius, and Aquarius is his natal 7th house of others, 7th house of long-term meaningful relationships and open enemies. Now Saturn constricts when it moves into a sign. And the way it works is it starts by constricting as soon as it moves into that sign. And it stays in a sign for 2.5 years. And generally, as the greatest constriction is when it first moves in. And then as it slowly gets closer and closer and closer to the end of that sign, you start to feel the pressure releasing. Of course, that also depends on how it's landing on different places in your chart. For example, well, if, you know, I just wanted to say that, you know, okay, I'm going to make a prediction that that the Democrats are going to be extremely successful in the 2020 election. And I think that we can look forward to that. Of course, we have to get out and vote, because nothing is set in stone. It's only probabilities until it actually happens. So we have to get out and vote. But I do believe this, the Democrats will be extremely successful in 2020. However, I have looked at the charts and I cannot yet conclude 100% in my own mind that Trump cannot win the election. There are some aspects that are unfavorable to him, but there are also some that are favorable to him. And if he wins, it's because it is purely karma, okay? That there's something about working through this karma that is still going to take us into the year 2021. But I just also want you to keep in mind that the karma is building, and at some point it will become so intense that it will crush him. The floor will fall out from under his feet. So just keep that in mind, because as an example, with Saturn moving in there, that is a loss of support, and it will be in there for a few months. It starts on March 21st. And by the way, it just so happens that Super Tuesday is on March 20th, and Saturn moves in there on March 21st. So we're going to see something significant change. And I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how that manifests. But I've given you some clues. When Saturn moves into a 7th house of others, something will constrict and contract, and there will be limitation. That's what Saturn does when it first moves into a sign. It limits, restricts, and contracts and removes. And therefore, that means it will remove his support, much of his support, when it moves into a 7th house. And so we'll see. We'll have to wait to see the actual manifestation of that, but that is the nature of Saturn moving into the 7th house, is it restricts. You experience losses in the house of other. You experience loss of support from other people when Saturn moves into the 7th house. So that's the fundamental, basic energy of Saturn moving into the 7th house. So that's what will happen. in terms of the specifics, we'll have to see exactly how that manifests. But that's the basic nature of Saturn moving into the 7th house, is a loss of support. And by the way, we still have Pluto here, you know, over his vertex in opposition to Saturn and Venus. And Pluto's not going to go away. It will continue to hover over those degrees. And you can see this, the boomerang yacht is still active. There is still a quincunx over here. It'll get tighter as it gets closer to 26 degrees, but it's definitely there. And let's see what else we want to say about this chart. Yeah, so the reason why I mention all that, oh, and also the vertex is conjunct the North Node. And it has already squared his Neptune by this time. That's probably has a lot to do why he's, I think two things will have a lot to do with why he will be experiencing a loss of support and increased enemies, is because one, because of the revelations that come out with the opposition to Saturn and Venus that I just mentioned, but also because of the North Node reaching its exact square to Neptune. And what the revelations of that will lead to loss of support. But also, I do believe that whatever happens on Super Tuesday will shift significant support. Because, you know, he has this hardcore base. And as we've said many times, there is nothing that can seem to shake them. I don't know if they saw him like, well, I don't want to say it because it's just too disgusting. But, you know, imagine the worst thing you could possibly imagine if they saw him doing it. I don't even know if that would be enough. Who knows what it would take. But so far, nothing shakes their support. So what we have to assume that base will stick with them. But there is a large percentage of the population who could switch sides if they felt truly inspired by a Democratic candidate. They were looking for change, and they thought Trump would bring it. But he hasn't brought change. All he's done is he's just magnified what was wrong with the government to begin with and made it more obvious, which in a way is a gift. But it's been an unpleasant, jagged pill to swallow. But maybe that's what we needed as a nation. So I do think that Super Tuesday will have something to do with that as well. All right, so that's it for today. And as always, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I'll be putting out 2 more videos this weekend that you can look forward to. And what else? Leave your comments as always, and share with friends and family and on social media. And again, if you are interested in getting a free book and you're already a patron, you will be notified. But also, if you just want to email me at admin@yvonnedavis.com, and that email address is good for if you have questions about the workshop, or getting a reading, or becoming a patron, or anything like that. Please feel free to email me. If it's just a comment regarding my videos, it's much, much better to put it in the comments below. And again, the workshop that I'm offering is at a discount, and it includes a 1-hour astrology reading. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. And I will see you again tomorrow. So take care until then. And I just adore you all. I just want to say that. Thank you so much for viewing this video and sticking with me and subscribing. I really appreciate it. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.